Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, June 24th, reveal that Jordan Ashford will fire back at Portia Robinson, who just confronted Curtis Ashford's ex after witnessing a close moment between them. However, Jordan will think Portia needs to be a woman and step up. If Portia wants to save her marriage, Jordan will feel like she needs to focus on rebuilding trust with Curtis and repairing the damage. Meanwhile, Tracy Quartermaine will continue her tirade at the derailed press conference. Now that Tracy has publicly accused Drew Kane of framing her and announced that he should be thrown out of office, Drew will definitely be fuming. It's possible that Tracy could take things even further and expose Drew's passionate encounters with Nina Reeves, but it looks like she might save that shocker for another time. Whatever the case, Drew is set to receive some inside info after the press conference wraps up. Will Kai Taylor blab about overhearing Curtis' plot to find Jacinda and pay her to speak out against Drew? At the gallery, Trina Robinson will admit she thinks Curtis is making a mistake. Although Trina will totally understand why Curtis wants to take Drew down, she'll worry that this whole Jacinda plot could end badly. Despite the reassurance Curtis is about to offer, Trina will still have plenty of concerns. Next, Lucy Coe will have a meeting with Jen Sidwell and Marco Rios, so look for her to hint about something she could still make happen. Over with Nina Reeves, she'll continue her tense conversation with Carly Spencer. Nina feels like the only way to stop Drew and Willow Tate's wedding is for Carly to talk Michael Corinthos into an ASAP compromise regarding the kids. That will be the beginning of the end of their relationship, Nina insists in Tuesday's JH preview video. It sounds like Nina will hope that if Willow pumps the wedding brakes and strikes a deal with Michael, her romance with Drew will start to crumble. Unfortunately, Willow just admitted her Drew marriage plans to Michael, who's about to fight back. Michael will make it clear that if Willow goes through with the nuptials, she'll never see Wiley Corinthos or Amelia Corinthos again. Since Willow is feeling empowered by Drew and the new strategy they've developed, she'll stand up to Michael. "I know you're used to getting your way, but not this time," Willow warns Michael in Tuesday's preview clip. Although Carly will deliver a plea to Michael later and perhaps try to stop all this from escalating, Michael will remain livid with Willow. General Hospital spoilers say there's much more custody drama to come, so stay tuned for updates on all the stunning news and heated confrontations. General Hospital spoilers gush that Rick Lansing holds a dangerous card, using his knowledge of Christina Corinthos Davis's attempt to kill Ava Jerome, which caused a near-fatal crash for him and Elizabeth Baldwin, as leverage in a blackmail scheme tied to Alexis Davis. Want more General Hospital news? Get updates on the latest General Hospital news straight to your inbox. Website your email. Subscribe. We use your personal data for interest-based advertising, as outlined in our privacy notice. With Elizabeth still buried in her feelings over Lucky Spencer leaving her behind for greater adventures, despite his heartfelt proposal last week, Rick's lingering feelings for his ex-wife could lead to a shocking ultimatum. Another chance at their past romance in exchange for dropping his blackmail. Will Rick exploit Elizabeth's vulnerability to rekindle their love? Or will she stand firm, risking Christina's exposure and Alexis' downfall? Rick's blackmail tightens its grip. Rick's scheme, pressuring Alexis to protect Christina while aligning with Ava, gives him power, but his soft spot for Elizabeth complicates his motives. Knowing Christina's crime implicates Elizabeth as a witness, Rick might confront her, offering to bury the evidence if she gives their relationship a shot. Any ounce of charm he has left could clash horribly here with his ruthless tactics, leaving Elizabeth disgusted and torn. If Rick pushes this deal, will she consider it to shield Christina and Alexis, or reject him, knowing his history of manipulation? Elizabeth's heart fights back against her principles. Elizabeth's loneliness is deepened by Lucky's exit, and has left her rather vulnerable, but her resolve to avoid past mistakes, like her fraught history with Rick, holds strong. She has been clear since his return to Port Charles that there will never be a relationship between them again. But a romantic overture tied to blackmail could stir old feelings, though it'll also repulse her, especially after Rick's recent schemes. If she wavers, we can rest assured that everyone from her friends to frenemies like Carly Spencer might urge her to stay wary. Will Elizabeth risk her heart for Christina's safety, or call Rick's bluff, daring him to expose the truth? A deal with dire consequences. If Rick demands love for leniency, The fallout could reshape his barely there friendship with Elizabeth. Her agreeing might save Christina but trap her in a toxic dynamic, and we have to wonder why she would go out on that limb for the Davis girls. If she refuses, Rick could escalate, endangering Alexis and Christina. But is that really Elizabeth's problem to begin with? Aren't both Christina and Alexis now guilty of crimes? Will Rick's ultimatum for another shot with Elizabeth in exchange for dropping his blackmail succeed? Or will her defiance unravel his scheme and ignite a war? Can she possibly convince him to drop his schemes just by alluding to a second chance that she doesn't end up giving him? Stay tuned for more GH news and spoilers right here every day. General Hospital spoilers indicate that Marco Rios is looking into Dr. Britt Westbourne and the circumstances surrounding Rocco Falconeri's conception. Want more General Hospital news? Get updates on the latest General Hospital news straight to your inbox. Website your email. Subscribe. We use your personal data for interest-based advertising, as outlined in our privacy notice. During his investigation of Britt, Marco could find a discrepancy in the paperwork and realize that something is awry. He could look deeper and suspect that Britt is still very much alive. Marco Rios tells Brooklyn Quartermain his theory about Britt Westbourne. Marco realizes that Dr. Liesl Albrecht didn't sign the death certificate, and that there are a few other discrepancies that do not make much sense. He tells Brooklyn that he suspects that Liesl is hiding something, and that perhaps Britt survived the attack on her life after all. This would intrigue Brooklyn, as perhaps she could get the answer she needs from Britt herself. She would ask him to get more information, and she pays Marco to go on an expedition to get answers from Liesl herself. Marco Rios goes on a search for answers. Marco would next track down Liesl herself, and go on a search to find her. Once he finally does, he would ask her about Britt and why she never seen the death certificate and why there are so many discrepancies in her paperwork. Liesl would be evasive at first, but she would eventually confess that Britt is still indeed alive, but she is still recovering and it could take some time. This is why Liesl has been spending so much time away from Port Charles. Marco then reports back to Brooklyn, who decides to join him on his expedition. Brooklyn Quartermain goes to see Britt Westbourne. Brooklyn arrives at the hospital where Britt is recovering, and meets Marco there. She goes in to see Britt, who is familiar with her from Port Charles. Brooklyn would tell her that she is there to ask about the story about Rocco. She would tell her that Lulu Spencer tore apart her relationship with her son, and she wants to return the favor. She doesn't think that Rocco knows that Britt carried him, and how he came to be in this world. Britt fills Brooklyn in on the whole debacle, and agrees when Brooklyn asks her to come back to Port Charles and tell Rocco the truth. She should be ready to be released soon. Brooklyn convinces Britt Westbourne to return to Port Charles and be part of her revenge plot. Brooklyn would convince Britt to return to Port Charles. Since Britt wasn't killed by the snake venom, and she never had Huntington's disease, and is now recovered, she is willing to go back. Brooklyn tells her that she doesn't think that Rocco knows the truth about his conception, and how Britt was his birth mother. Britt agrees to go back to Port Charles to tell Rocco the truth, and give Lulu a taste of her own medicine. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think that Marco will learn that Britt is still alive? Will Marco and Brooklyn go see Britt? Will Brooklyn get Britt to agree to help her in her plan against Lulu? Keep watching General Hospital weekdays on ABC to find out what's next. And don't forget to check back right here for all your latest General Hospital information, news and spoilers. Next on GH, Nina seeks help from an unlikely source. Drew gets some inside information. Carly pleads with Michael. In addition to Nina seeking help from an unlikely source, General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, June 24, 2025, will also focus on Drew getting some inside information and Portia lashing out. Next on General Hospital, the emotions for the Tuesday episode seem to be a bit erratic and desperate. Take Nina Reeves, who hates what's going on with her daughter and Drew right now. They are getting married, and that's unacceptable as far as Nina is concerned. So look for Nina to seek help from an unlikely source. Which one of Port Charles's citizens will be the unlikely source? Will this person agree to help? Meanwhile, Drew thinks he is putting everything in place for Willow to get her kids back. And when he gets some inside information, will it help with the cause? It may not necessarily have anything to do with his Willow plans. It could have something to do with his vendettas against Sunny and Jason, or something that will make Tracy's life hell. Read this, the latest GH comings and goings. rage and reassurances. Another individual with skin in this game is Portia. And right now, her whole world is crumbling before her very eyes. Her marriage is beyond rocky, and Drew has the keys to making her professional life follow suit. So when Portia lashes out, who's the target? Join the Soap Hub community and make your opinion matter. Comment. Finally, Curtis takes it upon himself to reassure Trina. Reassure her about what? Maybe this is about Kai working as a congressional intern for the New York congressman. She may need someone to tell her that resenting her boyfriend for working for a shady politician, who has done her family wrong, isn't the way to go. Or maybe this is about Curtis reassuring Trina that he and her mom will be fine. Or that he has the Drew thing handled. In both cases, Curtis may be lying to himself. Read this. Other GH moments to watch out for this week. The Drew effect elsewhere. The Drew factor weighs heavily on a couple of other characters. Carly and Michael. When Carly pleads with Michael, what is this all about? Michael might be planning to go to the extreme if Drew and Willow's marriage happens. He was willing to do it before when he thought he would lose custody of the kids. Is he thinking about doing that again? After all, in this week's GH video preview, Michael does have strong words for his ex-wife regarding marrying Drew. General Hospital spoilers. Britt's return sends shockwaves. Lulu's safety in jeopardy? Port Charles is bracing for another bombshell, as Britt Westbourne is revealed to be very much alive. And not everyone is going to take the news well. For Marco, who's been operating under the assumption that Britt was long gone and out of the game, this discovery could shift everything. But perhaps more troubling than Britt's miraculous survival is who she may be aligning herself with, Brooke Lynn Quartermaine. Brooke Lynn has never been afraid to stir the pot. She's bold, outspoken, and always looking for an edge. When it comes to family drama or business power plays, she knows how to pull strings behind the scenes. Now with Britt potentially re-entering the Port Charles scene, these two formidable women may form an alliance that could shake up more than just ELQ or deception. It could place unsuspecting people, like Lulu Spencer, directly in the line of fire. Marco reels from the shocking discovery. Marco has always had his ear to the ground, especially when it comes to the shadows of Port Charles. His dealings are rarely public and his moves are calculated. So when word quietly spreads that Britt didn't perish as previously believed, Marco is stunned and suspicious. For someone with his kind of background and interest in keeping the balance of power predictable, Britt's return represents chaos. He'll immediately start digging. Where has Britt been hiding? Who's helped her? And more importantly, what does she want now? Her past misdeeds, criminal connections, and family legacy as Dr. Albrecht's daughter give plenty of cause for concern. If Britt is back for revenge, justice, or even redemption, Marco wants to know, and fast. Brooke Lynn's motives under the microscope. At the same time, Brooke Lynn has been quietly maneuvering her way into key social and corporate circles. Though many see her as simply a Quartermaine trying to preserve the family name, others suspect there's a more personal agenda at play. Her fallout with Lulu is well known, and while the tension has cooled somewhat over the years, the wounds haven't healed. With Britt's reappearance, Brooke Lynn may finally see an opportunity to settle old scores or gain an ally who understands what it means to live in the shadows of others. Britt's medical expertise and rebellious past make her unpredictable, but also very useful. Brooke Lynn might view Britt as the perfect wildcard to tip the scales in her favor. Lulu Spencer's future. At risk again? While Lulu remains in recovery, her name keeps surfacing in plots she has no control over. Once a powerful force in journalism and politics, Lulu's current vulnerability makes her an easy target. And in the world of Port Charles, that never ends well. If Brooke Lynn harbors lingering resentment and Britt has unfinished business, Lulu could unintentionally become the target of their combined frustrations. Whether it's due to past romantic entanglements, family rivalries, or unresolved conflicts, the possible formation of a Brooke Lynn and Britt team could be bad news for Lulu. Even if they don't explicitly target her, their scheming could indirectly threaten her fragile stability, or worse, sabotage any plans Dante or Laura may have to revive her life in Port Charles. Dante and Laura on alert. Dante Falconeri is no stranger to underhanded plots and surprising threats. As Lulu's ex and the father of her child, any rumors involving her safety will send him into protector mode. Laura Collins, too, will be deeply concerned, especially with Britt's history involving her own family. Both Dante and Laura will likely keep tabs on Brooke Lynn and Britt, even if they can't yet prove that anything sinister is happening. If either woman crosses the line, Laura and Dante won't hesitate to strike back. But timing is everything, and by the time evidence surfaces it could be too late. Britt's return. Redemption or revenge? The bigger mystery remains. What does Britt actually want? Her reappearance could signal a personal mission. She may be out to clear her name, reclaim a position at GH, or even expose those who let her fade away in the first place. Alternatively, she could be on a mission of vengeance, especially if she believes someone intentionally abandoned or betrayed her. And while Britt has softened over the years, especially during her time with Jason, her core personality remains sharp and unpredictable. If she's working with Brooke Lynn, it may start as a strategic alliance, but how long will it take before trust erodes and personal agendas clash? The fallout: secrets, schemes, and power plays. As the truth about Britt's survival begins to spread and more characters become aware of her return, the political and personal landscape of Port Charles will start to shift. Expect Elizabeth, Maxie, and even Nicholas to react strongly, each with different fears and loyalties. The question of whether Britt is friend or foe will dominate conversations. Meanwhile, Brooke Lynn may find herself in over her head. Aligning with Britt could open doors, but it may also expose her to deeper consequences than she imagined. Final thought: trust no one. In Port Charles, alliances are fragile, secrets are currency, and power is never permanent. With Britt back in play and Brooke Lynn possibly playing with fire, everyone connected to them, especially Lulu, better watch their backs. Because when powerful women team up in this town, someone's bound to get burned. Tangled motivations and shadowy moves. In true Port Charles fashion, no one's motivations are ever entirely pure, and Britt's return to the land of the living throws a major wrench into several ongoing stories. Her alliance with Brooke Lynn may appear to be an act of strategy on the surface, but both women could be operating with very different long-term goals in mind. Brooke Lynn is a Quartermaine through and through, ambitious, legacy-focused, and more than willing to use someone else's secrets to get ahead. Britt, meanwhile, may be less interested in power and more focused on rewriting her story after being presumed dead. What happens when both women realize their endgames are not aligned? Conflict is almost guaranteed. Maxie and Elizabeth's alarming realization. Elsewhere, Britt's former friends and co-workers like Maxie Jones and Elizabeth Weber will undoubtedly be stunned and conflicted when they learn she's alive. Maxie, who has a complicated history with Britt that includes both deep betrayal and genuine friendship, might welcome her back cautiously. But Elizabeth, who never fully trusted Britt even during her best moments, may see this as a red flag. Maxie might try to reconnect with Britt and figure out what she's after. If Maxie suspects that Brooke Lynn and Britt are plotting something, especially something that could endanger Lulu's recovery, she'll waste no time alerting Dante or even Sam. Elizabeth, on the other hand, might worry Britt's return could destabilize General Hospital's fragile internal politics. With doctors, administrators, and patients already on edge, adding a supposedly dead wildcard back into the mix could spell disaster. Laura's instincts kick in. Laura Collins has always trusted her gut, and when something feels off, she acts quickly. Upon hearing that Britt is alive, her first instinct will be to connect the dots to her daughter. Lulu may not be conscious, but she's still vulnerable in every sense. The timing of Britt's reappearance, paired with Brooke Lynn's growing influence in town, won't sit well with Laura. She might discreetly enlist Dante, or even Kevin, to dig into Britt's movements and figure out who's backing her. If there's any chance that Britt's return could endanger Lulu, Laura won't hesitate to put her foot down, and perhaps even confront Brooke Lynn herself. Expect fireworks if that showdown happens. Dante's protective nature surfaces. For Dante, the implications are personal and emotional. With Lulu still unresponsive and undergoing care, any talk of danger will trigger his deepest protective instincts. If he hears even a whisper of Britt aligning herself with Brooke Lynn for shady reasons, Dante could begin his own investigation, official or not. He might even reconnect with old allies like Sam McCall or Anna Devane to help him get to the truth. And while he's trying to stay neutral for the sake of co-parenting with Brooke Lynn, that line may blur quickly if Lulu's safety is even remotely in question. If Dante catches wind of Marco's involvement, or suspects that Britt might be tied to darker schemes, he won't stay on the sidelines for long. Sam's role and the PI angle. With Jason still off the canvas and Spinelli working behind the scenes, Sam could take on a more prominent investigative role in this brewing drama. Her connection to both Dante and Maxie puts her in a unique position to dig where others can't. Sam might take it upon herself to uncover where Britt has been hiding, how she survived, and what exactly she wants now. Her past collaboration with Britt could help her gain a foot in the door, but whether Britt's willing to open up is another story. Sam's questions could lead her straight to Marco, and possibly to secrets he's desperate to keep hidden. A dangerous game for Marco. Marco is now caught between what he knows and what he can prove. As someone who thrives on information control, Britt's return makes him uneasy. If Britt begins asking questions about old enemies or lost connections, Marco may be forced to take drastic action to protect his operations. Worse still, if he suspects that Britt is looking to expose or leverage him for her own safety, he may consider neutralizing her again, permanently this time. If Brooke Lynn becomes collateral damage in the process, Marco likely won't lose sleep. After all, in his world everyone's expendable. A fractured alliance? Though Brooke Lynn may have viewed Britt as a partner at first, the more unpredictable Britt becomes, the less control Brooke Lynn may feel she has. Britt doesn't like being used, and if she senses that Brooke Lynn is trying to exploit her return for personal gain, she could snap. Their alliance, while powerful, is built on shaky ground. If either of them begins acting in self-interest, as they both inevitably will, their relationship could implode in spectacular fashion. Expect fiery arguments, double crosses, and perhaps even public exposure if things spiral out of control. The domino effect across town. Britt's reappearance will ripple through every corner of Port Charles. Carly may want to know how Britt faked her death and whether Jason ever knew the truth. Nina could see Britt's return as a distraction from her own scandals and try to use it to her advantage. Curtis might be pulled into the drama if Britt's medical condition or survival is tied to the clinic he once investigated. Michael and Willow could be forced to confront new hospital shakeups or threats if Britt returns to GH with a vengeance. No one remains untouched when the dead rise in Port Charles. Jason Morgan's shadow looms large. Although Jason Morgan remains out of sight, his influence is far from gone in Port Charles. News of Britt's survival could set off a wave of speculation, especially since Jason was reportedly with her in her final moments. Britt's reappearance could lead many to ask, if Britt made it out alive, is there a chance Jason did too? Carly Corinthos may be the first to question everything. She still grieves for Jason, but if there's even the smallest chance he survived, she'll do whatever it takes to get to the truth. Carly might track down leads, push Spinelli into action, and even confront Britt directly, demanding answers she may or may not be willing to give. If Britt is hiding Jason's whereabouts or knows more than she's saying, things could explode between the two women, especially with Carly's emotions already running high. Brooke Lynn starts to spiral. Brooke Lynn Quartermain has always thrived on calculated risks, but working with Britt may prove to be more chaotic than she expected. As rumors about Britt's past activities swirl, Brooke Lynn could begin to feel the walls closing in. Her powerful family name may protect her for a time, but alliances are thin in Port Charles, and public trust thinner still. Ned, Lois, and even Tracy could question her judgment, particularly if Britt's return stirs up more Cassadine-related controversy or brings media attention the family doesn't want. Brooke Lynn's guilt may start to mount if she realizes she's placed herself, and perhaps even Harrison Abbott, closer to danger than she thought. If she feels betrayed by Britt or backed into a corner, she may try to cut ties, but that's not something Britt will allow easily. Britt's agenda: revenge, redemption, or both. Surviving what everyone believed to be a fatal incident changes a person, and Britt is no exception. Whether she staged her death or narrowly escaped with help from a mysterious benefactor, Britt has returned sharper and possibly more vengeful than before. She may be nursing old grudges against Victor Cassadine's allies, the medical board that failed to protect her, or even people who abandoned her when she needed help the most. If Britt is focused on redemption, she'll need allies. But if revenge is her true aim, Port Charles could be in for a major shakeup. Her partnership with Brooke Lynn may be just the beginning. Britt could easily manipulate others, like Austin Gatlin Holt, who's already nursing resentment toward certain Port Charles elites. A new alliance could form to shift the power dynamics permanently. Lulu Spencer. More than a coma patient? Lulu Spencer has been unconscious for far too long, and fans are beginning to question when, or if she'll return. Britt's reappearance might be the key. If Brooklyn and Britt are involved in anything shady, and Lulu somehow holds a piece of the puzzle, there's a chance her condition could suddenly worsen. Some fans even speculate that Lulu may have overheard or witnessed something before her coma, and someone might try to keep her quiet permanently. Laura and Dante will do everything in their power to protect her. But what if someone inside the hospital isn't playing by the rules? Britt's medical knowledge gives her access and authority that few would question. If her intentions are murky, Lulu could be in grave danger without anyone realizing it until it's too late. Anna Devane's investigation kicks off. No stranger to cover-ups and long-buried secrets, Anna Devane will be highly suspicious of Britt's miraculous return. The timing, the people she's aligned with, and her vague explanations will all raise red flags. Anna may quietly open an investigation, using her WSB contacts or working closely with Jordan Ashford to get information from both local and international sources. Britt's time off the grid will be carefully scrutinized. If Marco is tied to Britt's survival or manipulating her in any way, Anna could get dangerously close to discovering a deeper criminal conspiracy operating just beneath Port Charles's polished surface. Valentine Cassidy's response. With the Cassidine legacy in flux and the memory of Victor's chaos still haunting him, Valentine might have strong opinions about Britt's sudden comeback. He once had a complicated bond with her, and while he may sympathize with her struggles, he'll also be on guard. Valentine's first priority is always Charlotte and the family he's trying to protect. If he senses that Britt is being used or worse using others, he might step in. This could lead to an unexpected alliance between Valentine and Laura, as they attempt to uncover Britt's true motivations, especially if Lulu's well-being becomes a shared concern. Esme Prince makes her move. Esme's radar is always fine-tuned for opportunity, and Britt's return may provide the perfect distraction. If she sees Britt gaining public sympathy, Esme may position herself as the new reformed woman of Port Charles, eager to win back credibility. She could align with Marco or another enemy to throw Britt under the bus, or even team up with Trina or Jocelyn to feign innocence. Expect Esme to strike while everyone else is preoccupied, maybe even stealing medical records or manipulating Harrison in a way that triggers Brooklyn's wrath. Maxie's emotional tornado, torn between grief and relief. Maxie Jones was one of Britt Westbourne's closest friends, and news of her death had deeply shaken her. So when whispers start to circulate that Britt is actually alive, Maxie may struggle with a flood of conflicting emotions. Relief might hit her first, joy that her friend survived. But soon after, the pain and betrayal could set in. Why didn't Britt reach out? Why let Maxie and her children mourn her? Maxie's history with fake deaths, especially with Nathan and Peter's convoluted disappearances, may stir up trauma she hasn't fully processed. Britt's silence could feel like abandonment. Maxie might also begin to question if Britt's reasons for staying away had anything to do with her. Did Britt fear Maxie wouldn't understand or forgive her involvement with Victor, or the Cassidines? Was it about guilt? Or is there more Britt isn't telling? Either way, Maxie's emotional reaction will drive her to confront Britt, and their reunion could be one of the most heart-wrenching in recent Port Charles history. Spinelli's return to hacker mode. Where Maxie goes, Spinelli often follows. Once he learns Britt may be alive, Spinelli could dust off his digital skills and start tracking her movements, diving into travel records, security footage, and encrypted hospital data. Spinelli may uncover that Britt had been traveling under a false identity, or was being protected by someone powerful with the means to erase paper trails. His tech-savvy mind could help reveal how Britt survived, where she's been, and most importantly, who helped her stay hidden. There's also the possibility Spinelli uncovers something Britt never intended to be found, evidence linking her to Marco, or even clues about Jason Morgan's fate. Cody's complicated feelings resurface. Cody Bell's past with Britt is complicated. While he didn't always treat her the way she deserved, her death shook him. If he finds out she's alive, it could throw Cody into a full-blown emotional crisis. He may wrestle with guilt over how things ended between them. Worse, if Cody has started forming a connection with someone new, perhaps Sasha or even Ava, Britt's reappearance could send him spiraling. It could reignite old feelings and unfinished business he thought he had buried for good. Cody might be one of the first to seek Britt out privately, desperate to talk to her before the media and police get involved. He may demand answers and even promise to keep her secret, depending on what Britt tells him. But if Marco is pulling strings in the background, Cody's protective instincts may kick in. Could he put himself in danger to help Britt escape a toxic alliance? Sam McCall and Dante circle in. As private investigators and police officers, Sam and Dante will soon catch wind of all this. If they get their hands on even a sliver of truth, Britt's reappearance, suspicious activity at the hospital, or renewed Cassidy movements, they'll know something big is brewing.